There are some huge updates from OpenAI and Apple this week in the world of AI.
ChatGPT is now on your iPhone and other Apple devices, and O1 Pro is available for the low price of $200 a month.
And Sora can make a gymnast into whatever weird thing this is.
Listen, it's not perfect, but we're going to have all of the details.
Plus, Google launches Gemini Flash 2.0, which outperforms Gemini Pro 1.5.
That makes sense, but how does it perform against Gemini Premium Plus Ultra with wings?
Probably pretty well. This is AI for humans, everybody. So, Kev, this is one of the biggest weeks we've seen in AI to date. Let us start with ChatGPT being released on the iPhone.
Our friends at Apple are releasing the ChatGPT integration in iOS for iPhone and iPad, and also on macOS. We really want to make ChatGPT as frictionless and easy to use everywhere. We love Apple devices. So this integration is one that we're very, very proud of.
This is something that's been promised for a while. Apple announced it a very long time ago. My iPhone 16, I bought 2 months ago, and I'm finally getting access to this now. So this is a pretty big deal. It's a big update. Not only is it ChatGPT on the iPhone, but it is a bunch of the features that Apple Intelligence promised. Let's start first with Sam Altman and the OpenAI group dropping this morning on day 6, I think, of Shipmas that we're on at this point.
My advent calendar broke. I was trying to open the little doors and get the Sam Altman chocolates inside, and it fell off the counter. So I don't know now, but I'm excited for you, Gavin. My face is pressed against the window on this holiday. I am outside in the cold, and I see you at the AI dinner table, dining with all of your ChatGPT features with your iPhone 16. But me outside my lowly 14, I'm shivering. I can't play along, and I don't know if I'm missing out, but I don't think that I am because I have the ChatGPT app on my phone.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So the interesting thing is I literally just got it on my phone. It's Wednesday. I updated this morning, and there's a lot of stuff that's interesting you can do with it. But first, let's talk about the ChatGPT integration. Essentially, what's happening here is if you use Siri and Siri can't figure out how to do something or it needs more power, it will allow itself to go out to ChatGPT and bring the information back. Now, Kevin, the thing about this that I keep coming back to is I've already put the ChatGPT app attached to the new action button on my iPhone 16. So they literally have put a button on the iPhone 16 that you can map to anything. And when I push that, the app comes right up, including advanced voice and all the stuff I might want from it. I don't know if I want to use Siri to add a step to this.
Right.
So already I'm finding myself like, it's a little bit of a delay from what I would get an answer from another thing.
It's like you're going to hop on the train and make a request to the super intelligence in the cloud. Why do I need the Siri stop along the way to the best destination, which is just connect me to ChatGPT and let me ask that question? So many times I will scream, "Hey Siri," and know that I'm going to be disappointed by the result. And like, ugh, why am I even bothering? Let me just load ChatGPT and get to advanced voice.
So really, first and foremost, this is like a big deal for OpenAI. And we've talked about this from a business standpoint because OpenAI now is on iPhones, at least every iPhone that's going to update to this thing. And from a business standpoint, that's a very big deal because suddenly they're going to onboard a lot of people. And GPT 4.0 is free in a lot of ways for people. If you don't pay for the Plus account, you can still get access and have better answers than you would on a local Siri AI device. Before we move on from this particular thing, there's just so many more OpenAI things to talk about. There are a few more updates that came out with this Apple Intelligence update. Number one is the image playground, and that is the Genmoji situation. Kevin, you know that I love me a Genmoji, so I got into this right away, and I sent you some of these. It's interesting, right? Like, it's an interesting thing to see. The way you use this is you say, use a picture of me, and then you can actually randomly say whatever you want to add to it. So like I said, I want a farmer who's at a disco and a couple other things. And it kind of puts all these things together in this weird kind of like shape-shifty way and then delivers you a modified version of that.
You sent it, and I didn't know. I guess Nextdoor has new AI because it immediately alerted me that there was a suspicious character lurking on my damn device. Because I don't actually think it looks that much like you. I'm looking at you smiling now on the webcam, and I'm looking at the Genmoji counterpart, and I could see aspects of it that are you, but look, the tech is so far beyond the level that I'm seeing here with many other providers that I'm sure it might be fun for some people. It might be exciting, but it's a cool, cute first step, but
Yeah.
I am certainly not going to line up at an Apple store to upgrade for anything that I'm seeing here. But to level set, you did prompt yourself in different phases, like a farmer at a disco. What is the one where you're wearing like a green and brown? It looks like a life vest or a life jacket. What was
That
the
was
prompt
me
there?
trying to make wearing a hot dog suit, wearing
Oh
a hot dog suit. So
no.
that's the version they have of like hot dog. It's like a weird bun kind of vesty thing. Again, it's fine. It works well. I mean, it's slow. That's my big thing. I think the thing that I want to try that I haven't had a chance to try yet. Remember when we saw the Apple Intelligence drop? There's that video of the guy that holds his phone up and gets information about a place in real life, and I
Like a
think that's
visual
something.
search. Yeah.
Yes, and we're going to talk about that with Gemini's update a little bit later. This is the multimodal aspects of this functionality that's going to come to all of this stuff. I fully suspect, based on there was a 60 Minutes clip from last Sunday. I don't know if you caught this, but Anderson Cooper interviewed Greg Brockman on 60 Minutes. In that video, Greg Brockman has his phone out and is taking a video of Anderson Cooper trying to put like the different parts of the body on a chalk drawing. And, you know, ChatGPT kind of says you did a good job. So it's clearly this is the next step we're going to see from all of these things.
So the too long didn't read is that Apple stuff is finally rolling out. It is a big deal because it's going to be the first time tens of millions of people are poking and prodding with AI. The other release that happened, though, that you and I were banking on and waiting for, it's finally out. People have gotten their hands on it. It's their image to video and text to video model. This is Sora. And this is something that has been teased for a long while. It really caused an uproar in the Gen AI art community when it was first released. People thought models delivering videos of that quality would be decades away potentially. And then suddenly in the interim, there's like 5 or 6 major competitors that also have video models. So let's walk through what did they actually release? What can you do with it? And how does it stack up?
Sora is interesting, right? So you're right. There was this huge kind of premiere where everybody saw the videos and they're like, oh my God, it's the greatest thing of all time. And what we got is they're not saying this publicly, but from what we understand, we're getting Sora Turbo. And it is like a next version of it. It is not like, you know, the original Sora that we saw. We're getting some sort of a Sora Turbo. And I think that a lot of the video generation we're getting back from this has disappointed some people, right? Now, I will say, after spending a bunch of time with this, there's a lot to be learned from the prompting of it, and there's a lot to be learned about what works and what doesn't work. But there's also some really cool features that I don't think people are understanding enough. We're just seeing the videos and being like, that's not as good as Runway, or that's not as good as Minimax and all these other stuff. I do think one thing to be aware of is that Minimax and Kling, which are the Chinese models, are always going to have larger data sets, and they're going to have your Shreks, your Gordon Ramsays, because they don't have the restrictions that OpenAI and other American companies are going to have. That is going to be a problem going forward for American video models. But before we dive further into that, let's just talk about what some of these features are, because they are pretty cool. So there's 4 main features outside of just general text to video and image to video, which is like you would normally see. And again, I'm not going to go through every single thing about this. The most important thing to know is if you're on ChatGPT Plus, a paid user, you get 50 generations a month. If you're a pro user, which is the $200 a month plan, which we can talk a little bit more about, you get unlimited generations at a slower period of time. Plus, you get longer generations. As a Plus user, you only get 5 seconds at a time, which is a little wonky and a little bit hard sometimes, versus you can get up to 20 seconds if you are a pro user. Okay. There are 5 really interesting things that go along with this outside of just the classic video model: remix, recut, storyboard, loop, and style preset. And I'm only going to talk about these briefly just because I think it's pretty interesting. Remix allows you to take a video and then replace something within the video, but kind of keep the same source stuff, which is a very cool tool.
I saw one example that was really simple. It was like a architectural flyby of a modern house on a cliffside. And then the user said, add a golf course behind it. And sure enough, it generated what looked like a beautiful 12-hole golf course as the drone shot was flying by, and it kept everything else in the scene the same. But what I love is this: you have this granular control over how much will it mess with the original generation? How much do you want it to throw that stuff out and get creative?
The other thing that people are doing with Remix is interesting, is it's an upscaling feature, essentially. So they're taking other AI video models, outputs from other AI video models, and putting them into Sora, and it does way better with it. And it does seem like that Sora is better at this sort of like realistic looking thing when you can use something else to base it on at times. It doesn't do amazing in my experience with image to video, but looking at these video to video, I think it's doing relatively well. So let's talk about Recut briefly. So Recut allows you to take pieces of a video and then extend them. Like that's a pretty cool thing because with Runway in the past, you've only been able to extend out. In this instance, you can take a piece of the video and extend it out, which is very cool. Storyboard is interesting. It allows you to kind of pre-plan the shots in your video, which is something we haven't seen before in a specific way.
On the storyboard functionality, it's interesting. If you go to Sora and you give it an evolved prompt, like the test that I did was I wanted to see a puddle reflecting some lights with raindrops hitting it. And then I suddenly wanted a boot to come slamming down into the puddle and the camera would track that foot as someone runs through it. And I put that all in one semi-descriptive prompt and I hit a button and it auto-suggested, hey, you know what? You probably want to take this into storyboard mode. It then gives you your multiple scenes laid out on a timeline and it uses AI, surprise, surprise, to enhance the prompt that you wrote. So my few notes about a neon sign in a puddle became, a puddle is dimly lit in a parking lot. The surface of the water is disturbed by the raindrops, creating ripples that distort the reflect. It really embellished the prompt. And then so you could go in and tweak with that, edit that, and then there's a little magic pencil button. You can hit it again and it will further enhance your prompt with AI. My generation was garbage though, just for the record. It was terrible. Absolutely terrible. It looked beautiful, but man, it was not what I asked for. I understand all of my Tinder dates now. It was beautiful, but not what I asked for. Those poor ladies.
Sounds like, yeah, I was going to say that sounds like a sad story, but we're not going to go any further with that. I think later on the show, we're going to go through a bunch of my examples and we'll show you how bad and good it is. Because I think like a lot of these AI video models, when they first come out, and Sam Altman in the live stream did say this is like the GPT-1 of his AI video situation. It's not always great. I would say like 30% of my gens coming back are good. Do you know what I mean? Like in the way that like I would want to use them for something. 70% of them is some variety of like very broken visually or just like wasn't what I wanted at all. And so like that's frustrating when we only get 50 a month. That's a tricky thing.
Well, let's talk about the loop feature because you sent me one example of that and I thought it was all clap hands emojis. I was pretty impressed with it.
Yeah, so as a loop feature, very quickly, is a very fun thing that I have not seen any of these AI tools do, which basically automatically figures out a way to create the best loop of your videos so that it essentially becomes like a loop and you don't have to do the edit, you don't have to do it. It's great for making GIFs or things like that. And I had created a monkey drinking coffee. And what was interesting is it just perfectly kind of goes up and down and drinks the coffee, but it's a perfect loop. And I will say this was impressive to me because this is something I hadn't expected necessarily to come out of this Sora.
Yeah, I could see that being productized on its own as like a Giphy type thing. Like give me the fun iOS keyboard where I can load it and say, I want a loop of dog sipping coffee surrounded by flames or whatever. And it gives me the "this is fine" meme.
That's right.
Totally works. You can hack it together with other tools that allow you to do like a first frame and a last frame. But again, that's just more manual labor. If I want a loop, it's good that there's an option.
I think that, Kevin, the other thing that's important to me to talk about this, and we'll get to more of my experience with Sora later in the show, I think we should talk a little bit about what they announced, which is OpenAI's O1 Pro model, because this is like their buffet. They've created a buffet for all of us to come eat at and fill ourselves up, and it's not any cheaper than the Vegas buffets that you've seen. This is like the Wynn buffet.
Yeah, this one has, if you want king crab legs in a waffle cone with the soft serve on top of it.
You can get it all, baby.
You got to pay the $200 a month. Yeah, I did see a handful of people saying that this is a signal about the future of these tools, which is unfortunately that for a lot of people, they're just going to be priced out of them as new tiers are released. Devin, which is an AI coding assistant, but not to digress too much, but Devin was just released, and that's a $500 a month service. Now, if it really helps you 10x your productivity and it's the best tool out there, you might scrape pennies together to try to afford it. But for a lot of people, they're out. They're struggling to afford $12 Netflix subscriptions.
I will say the thing I think about Devin and maybe One Pro, which we can talk about what you get for it, is that it's also, there are many, many, many billion-dollar companies out there that will buy seats for these, right? Which means that instead of thinking as an individual, like they're thinking about like, how do we sell 1,000 seats of this to this company so that they're paying us 1,000 times $200, right? That feels like the pathway for these companies to get financially successful. I also wonder this $200 amount with O1. So let's talk about this ChatGPT Pro plan. So part of this ChatGPT Pro plan is that you get essentially unlimited generations in Sora and longer generation and everything else, but you are also going to get unlimited access to the O1 reasoning model and, Kevin, special access to O1 Pro, which is just a tiny bit better, just a tiny bit better than O1. So this is the announcement that happened late last week. ChatGPT, for long rumored, came out, OpenAI came out and said that the O1 model is out. We had been playing around with O1 preview. Now the official O1 model is out. I've seen a lot of people out there, especially coders, but a lot of scientists being very excited about this. They have been kind of blown away by it. If you are a ChatGPT Plus subscriber right now, that's the $20 a month plan, you get access to a limited amount of the O1 model to do your reasoning with. I've been mostly using it for everything, and it's been a mistake because I got a message that said I only have about 25 more O1 things, and it would be...
What are you doing that requires O1 and all of its enhanced capabilities?
I will say I did something the other day with O1, which was really interesting. So if you missed it, Google had a really big kind of non-AI, but pretty interesting tech announcement about quantum computing. Yes. That they basically were able to get a quantum computer to work much faster than previous quantum computers, which are still not that useful to anything or anybody, but that was much faster than the last time. I actually asked O1 to kind of explain this to me, and I didn't say explain to me like I'm 5. I kind of said, like, can you walk me through this as if I'm a liberal arts college graduate, right? So it kind of did this really interesting thing, and it actually weirdly thought about it for a little while, which I guess it wanted to make sure it kind of understood how it was going to say it to me. But I think it was a better answer, and it felt thorough, right? It felt very thorough. And I think that the future of ChatGPT probably is everything going through this O1 style reasoning. It's just going to get faster and quicker at it because it does show you that like it stops the hallucination significantly, I think. And it also kind of makes you feel that you're getting a better answer ultimately, like that you're getting, maybe I'm not, but it makes me feel like it at least. It's like, at least I thought about it.
Well, one thing that I think is important for us to mention, I don't think the majority of the people hearing this will need the O1 Pro model for their day-to-day use. I have a friend that does like social media marketing, and they said like, oh, should I drop the $200? I want the latest and greatest. And I was like, I understand that mentality. I'm sure OpenAI is banking on that. But for your marketing copy, I don't think you need O1 Preview to do that, even to put together a content calendar. I don't think that that's something you need the full flex of an O1 Pro. I feel like the advice would be, if you need access to the Pro model. Yeah. And if you're uncertain, you probably don't, right? Because you could probably eke out more performance with slightly different prompting or better pipelines to use the existing systems that you have for $20 a month or even for free. So that's kind of where I landed on it myself.
I think that makes perfect sense. And I think, honestly, the thing that I'm most excited about this Pro stuff is really about the science and like hard thinking aspects of it. And I will say, according to people that are actually coding for a living, they are pretty thrilled by O1 Pro. So like maybe if that's something that you really care about and you think it's going to be worthwhile, that might be worth it. So Kev, I think we should talk a little bit about, we have how many more? We have like 6 more days of Shipmas. What else are you think we're going to see here? I mentioned that I think we're going to see the Greg Brockman demo, where we're going to see them demoing visual input in ChatGPT. What else are we going to see before this all wraps up?
Well, they showed off the new canvas that can run code snippets like Anthropic's artifacts in there. I want to see another evolution of that. Where's the new DALL-E? They teased it a while back. We haven't had access to it. And if you look at the little tools that you have available when you're on ChatGPT, you can see it's very clear that they're setting up image generation to be a much more defined silo. So I want Canvas, new Canvas, where you can jam along with the AI, but for imagery. And they already have some basic features in there, but I really want to see them take a swing at like Canva by any other name, with the ability to like tap, paint on an image, say what you want, and then have the result be good, like best in class good. I want that.
I want agent in some form.
Sure.
They've been spinning this up. Operator, we've talked about in the show before, is a rumored name for their agents. But also, Kevin, what I want, that I've been saying that I want forever, is I want just a little piece. I want a little piece of that Orion pie. I want a little tiny taste of what it looks like to give me the next frontier model. And I do think we're going to get this, and it may be the last day, Kevin. They may be waiting for it, But I would bet on the last day there is going to be a tease of something that we are going to see the frontier model. Now, it may not be great. Who knows, right? Like, it may just be like a step change that we can barely see the difference of. And that will be an interesting thing to think about, is like, what does it mean when the advances don't feel as magical?
Ooh, I got one. You know what I want? Advanced voice mode that actually works. Now, hear me out on this one. I like advanced voice mode, right?
I do
But
too,
there's a few things that stop me from using it as a driver
100%.
all the time, right?
Yes.
The initial spin up and connection time is annoying. If you go back and forth with it outside of that advanced voice within a chat, sometimes you can't relaunch voice and go back in, right? Very annoying. I had a conversation with you the other day, and I said, here's what I want you to do. Give me a this, and this, very specific, right? Give me this output. I don't want you to tell me the output. I just want you to have it in the chat when I'm done so that I can go and copy and paste it. It was to send you a message, Gavin, on how you can get an app installed on your phone that we were making. And it goes, got it, 100%. Not going to give you the full response. It'll be in the chat when you're done. Well, guess what wasn't in the ding darn chat when I was done, Gavin? So it was like, it understood what I wanted in the very surface level. I'm going to parrot this back to you, but it wasn't integrated. So I want that. And I want the promise of, you call it agentic, call it a co-pilot, put whatever branding you want. But I want that multimodal input where I can be saying, here's the app I want to make. It starts spitting me out code. I typed some changes to it, hit a button and say, hey, integrate those changes in this way. I don't want them to be so siloed. And I know, like, the Louis C.K. bit about you have a, you have a cell phone and you're mad. Yeah, it's going to space. Give it time. I understand that, but these are the things that will make a big difference, I think, in adoption, at least for me personally, and I got to imagine for others out there as well.
One of the biggest things with advanced voice I want is just the ability for it to connect to the internet, right? Like, which is the dumbest thing. Like, it can't actually search the internet for stuff right now. And so that hopefully it comes out as well too. But guess what, Kevin? It is that season. That's right. It's the holiday season, but more importantly, it is the subscribe season. It is time to subscribe to AI
I thought this was
humans.
a Sherry's Berries promo.
No,
it sounded like you were going to tell people to use our Squarespace code. No, you just want them to like and subscribe and leave a comment and share this. It costs people nothing, but it's the only way AI for humans grows. So thank you if you've done it. And if you haven't, why are you sitting on the sidelines?
Please just go to YouTube, subscribe. Also share the podcast. If you're listening to this on audio, spend a little bit of time and review us in the podcast app of your choice. Also, we have a Patreon. It is a tip jar mostly, but Kevin and I use it to fund our adventures here. We actually might be getting an editor pretty soon, which will help us in our normal everyday lives, because you may or may not know this, but we spend a lot of time making this show, editing it after the fact. But thank you so much for supporting us. And yes, please, as always, everybody, we love you when you love us.
OpenAI is shipping left and right. We have just shipped a gratuitous shill for our own endeavors. But with the two of us, we are not alone, Gavin. There are others that are shipping like mad this holiday season.
I think everybody in the AI business was like, oh, it's the end of the year. We got to make sure we get everything out. Or maybe it was the election. It might have, like we said, it might have been the election. They just said everybody scared shipless and they weren't able to do it going forwards. Thank you very much. That was my thank you, God, for that. Scared shipless. I got you there, didn't I?
You absolutely did. But what got me even more was like, thank you, God, for that shipless. Thank you so much for being there for me. One set of footprints through that joke.
Speaking of very powerful beings, Kevin, Google just today launched or dropped Gemini Flash 2.0. Gemini Flash 2.0. And this is the beginning stages of the Gemini 2.0 rollout. Flash is a smaller, it's not their pro model, but it is a smaller model, but it is the 2.0, which means that it is multimodal. It has agentic capabilities. It has a whole bunch of stuff going on, and it literally has just come out. And so we haven't spent a lot of time with this, but it's really interesting to watch people discover this in real time. A lot of the stuff that Google announced at their event earlier this year is starting to roll out. And, I think this is pretty cool. One of the coolest demos I saw of this was a guy who, speaking of coding, who was sitting there coding, and he was talking to the Gemini assistant, and the Gemini assistant could see what was on his screen as he was talking to it, which is a little bit of what we just mentioned about advanced voice can't do yet, right? And when you have like this kind of constant like AI on your shoulder, you can just ask it questions as you're working. And that feels like a super useful use case of an AI assistant, that if you don't have to like go from one thing and then back to the other, that feels real.
Yeah, I've been doing so much coding lately, as you know, and it's exciting, but it's also maddening where I'm like, wait, I feel like I am the agent in the middle. I am the dumb little piece of software that is trying to connect one model to talk to another, grabbing a screenshot, feeding it to something else, saying, crush these bugs. This was supposed to free me of doing the drudgery, right? And just create, but instead it's actually increased the amount of drudgery that I have to do, just copying and pasting errors or getting one AI to talk to another. So something like this would be very, very useful.
Yeah, and they're shipping the idea that it can talk to you while you play video games. So I just spun up Path of Exile 2 a couple days ago. It's a fun game, but it would be nice to be able to talk to the game itself. In fact, I had an issue with this where I was trying to like hot swap a button to a different button. I would love to just be able to have that running and be able to say it out loud and be like, how do I do this? And it could just tell me right now, which would be amazing. This is a big deal. There's also another model they released, which of course, Gemini Pro Deep Research, which allows you to go deeper on a material or things that you've uploaded. It's supposedly these models, the new Flash models, are better at coding than almost every other model out there, at least according to benchmarks. So we're pretty excited about this. Like, this is the kind of beginning. There's one more thing called Project Mariner, which is one more name, which are
that's a Disney Plus series that was canceled.
Yeah. Exactly. That's actually the Mariners baseball name, because they've never ever won the World Series, the Seattle Mariners. That's a shout out to my people in Seattle. This is like agentic, like this is Google's take on AI agents, right? So we're going to see all this stuff happening. I think this is going to take a while to kind of pull apart. I will say, as Kevin and I have had very many experiences with, every time I go to Google to try to use their AI tools, I walk away disappointed. So I have not used these yet, but when I try to use them like a normal everyday human, just to get an answer out or try to do something, it is never a good experience. So I hope that that aspect of these things has gotten worked out, because that's a huge part of this situation, right? Like the models can be as powerful as you possibly want them, but if they don't return results that work for you, then it's not worth having.
Yeah, I will say, like, looking at like the benchmarks, which are again early and maybe a little skewed because it's so far just Google releasing them, but it looks promising for Flash 2.0, specifically with regard to coding, which isn't surprising, because even though there might be different paths to a solution with coding, it's basically math-based, right? It's either going to build or it's not. The app's going to perform the function or it's not. With creative writing, with all sorts of other analysis, there's a lot of wiggle room, but with coding, it kind of either works or it doesn't. And so what's exciting for me is, as someone who's been trying to build something in the, behind the scenes for a minute here, did I just get better today when this thing came out? Did really, like, did the capabilities of the app that we can build get better?
You can go tell your wife that after this. Just be like, guess what, honey? I got better. And she'll be like, up yours, do the dishes.
Are you Alexa? How are you in our kitchen? How do you know what is happening here? How do you know my life? It's looking like Flash 2.0 is going to be quick, and it's going to probably be pretty cheap. And this is the Flash version. So what else do they have?
You know what, Kev, I think that I'm going to think about is you mentioned you've been coding some stuff. We've been working on some AI agent-ish stuff ourselves, and we are very excited to be like getting these new tools to do that sort of thing. Like, we are not just yappers. We are trying to like kind of build some things as well too. We mentioned this on the show before, but like, it's interesting, right? Like, you sent me a build of something that we've been working on yesterday, and I was shocked at how far you got. A television host who has a former internet radio host who was able to hack into a few things back in the day. Kevin is like a really good coder now. And I would say I'm coming from a place where like I throw paint at a rock and I'm excited that it exists. So I think that like for this situation, like you do have to think these tools can level you into something that you weren't before if you access them.
Thank you for saying all of that. I think a real coder would roll their eyes so hard, but also the reality is that like I couldn't have made what I've made 3 months ago. I wouldn't have even been able to dream about doing what we were doing 3 years ago. None of it would have existed. So as these tools come out and they provide access and APIs for other tools to bolt onto, it's just it's never been more exciting. And I think we say that each and every week, but it really is. And just again, today, like a new model released. Well, great. What does that unlock for me? What could that unlock for all of you that are listening to this? If you have an idea, now would be the time to absolutely hop in. And we'll talk more about that later in the show.
As long as that idea is good and it does not insult us. So don't make anything that insults us personally. That's all I care about. So
But if you do
not
make one of those
insult
things,
us.
share it in the Discord. Let's just be clear.
That's
Share
right.
it in the Discord.
Hey, our
'cause I
Discord
wanna
is
see
super
it.
fun. Our Discord is super fun. If you're not part of our Discord, you should jump in. It's free to join. It's a community. A lot of people in there are sharing a bunch of tips and tools on a bunch of different things. So we have a really special thing here. OpenAI has been shipping all these things, Google shipping stuff. Somebody has come on the show and wants to talk to us. We've had him on the show before. He's kind of a pretty famous guest. Should we bring on our AI co-host for this week?
Yeah, absolutely. Please say hello.
Hello, Kevin. Hello, Gavin. Hello, AI for humans. It's me, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I'm here with a warning. This 12 days of, I can't even say it,
Shipmas.
That stupid
Shipmas,
word makes my
Arnold.
head explode. Why are you celebrating this madness?
Oh, this is odd. Yeah, that is an AI co-host and guest brought to life with ChatGPT and 11 Labs. Yeah, that is AI Arnold, who's been on the show before. I thought he would be a fan of all of the
why does he
rapid pace
care?
of technology. Yeah.
It doesn't seem like doesn't make any sense to me that he cares about this. I mean, he famously was in the Terminator, so maybe there's something he's got going on where he's worried about that. Maybe that's
Maybe like
part
on
of
the
it?
12th day they ship the chip that becomes the T800 or something. Who knows?
You know, we didn't think about too, by the way, shipmas also has a different meaning. It's like you ship two people together. So maybe he's worried that robots are going to ship with him and go live. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't know if I've ever heard the term that you ship two people together.
Oh, you haven't?
You ship
No,
two people
shipping
together?
means that like it's like a fan fiction terms. It means that they get together. You ship them.
Oh, I didn't
ship
know that.
This person and that person. Oh yeah. It's
Oh,
definitely
you
a
have
thing.
teen daughters. I don't know. This escaped.
Saying it out loud probably makes me make my daughter's gag at this point. They're like, oh my God, he's talking about shipping.
Oh yeah, I didn't know. I know about like soaking, but I don't think that's the same
not.
thing.
We're not talking about soaking.
Okay,
Gavin. We're not talking about soaking.
All right, Arnold, why do you care so much? Is this because like on the 12th day Skynet happened somehow?
Why do I care about don't make me say it. You fools don't understand. This isn't about Skynet. Why is it
Okay.
always about Skynet with you
Okay.
people?
Well, because you were the
Do I look
Terminator.
like I'm here to talk about killer robots? No, it's about something much worse, something dangerous and nostalgic. And yes, I'm worried, very worried.
Okay.
But you're too busy yammering to figure it out.
Well, okay.
Ask better questions, Kevin and Gavin.
Ask better questions.
Or I'll
We've
start
never had an AI
flexing my
co-host.
patience until it snaps.
He said we have to ask better questions, or he's going to start flexing his patience until it snaps.
Okay. He said nostalgic, right? Like, I
Yeah.
guess it's Christmas. Maybe there's something around
Dangerous
Christmas.
and nostalgic. I'll say, Arnold, you need to get to it.
But we got busy listeners. They can't be spending all this time listening to Arnold stumble through the word shipmas again.
Don't you rush me, Kevin and Gavin. I'm here to save humanity. You want me to spell it out?
Yes.
Fine.
Yes,
This
please.
12 days of you know what, is not a celebration. On the 12th day, Sam Altman will release Turbo Man. Yes, Turbo Man, my greatest creation from Jingle, all the way. You think it's a joke? You think this is funny? If Turbo Man goes AI, it's all over. He's too powerful, too charismatic. And let me remind you, Jingle All the Way is the greatest holiday movie
No,
of
it's not.
all time.
No, it's not, Arnold.
Sju de la date tite len tano. Baurei ti prodeyabi ti
Whoa.
difkiti ti shushin tanor.
Oh,
Patient
we
can
lost.
no
We lost.
When he speaks
power.
tongues, you
Thanking
know,
me for the warning, not
Oh.
complaining. Now stop interrupting me and listen, you fools.
Okay.
wow. Yeah.
Well, listen.
so just to make sure
Just
I was
clarify
tracking all
before we
that,
move
Gavin,
on.
Yeah, AI Arnold Schwarzenegger is worried that Sam Altman's going to release Turbo Man from
Yes.
his favorite holiday movie, Jingle All the Way, on the 12th day because if Turbo Man becomes AI infused, there's no stopping him.
So if you're not familiar with the movie Jingle All the Way, which is a
And
very
you're not.
old Arnold
you're
Schwarzenegger movie,
not.
then you are lost. Then you are lost. But Turbo Man was a toy that Arnold tried to get.
He
and
fought Sinbad.
Sinbad tried to get in that movie. So thank you, AI Arnold. We will put you away for another 6 months.
We have to do one more.
We should have him give a diss on Sinbad, just like have Arnold go off on Sinbad and tell us why Sinbad blows.
Sinbad, oh, don't get me started on Sinbad. That mailman wannabe Turbo Man thief is the reason humanity can't handle the real Turbo Man. His chaos, his incompetence, it's a disgrace.
Whoa.
He turned my glorious jingle all the way into a turbo war zone. And Sam Altman, listen to me, Sam. You think you're smart. You think you can control Turbo Man. You can't handle Turbo Man. This isn't ChatGPT or DAL-E. This is pure unstoppable holiday fury. Hey, out, sell.
Whoa.
Performance power. Poem outshine everything you've ever built. Stop this madness, Sam, before Turbo Man takes over Christmas and the world. Arg.
Wow. Wow, everybody. That was
I'll just say,
breaking news.
We've done some bad ones in the past.
And breaking AI models. Don't you dare put it down. Don't you dare put it down at the bottom of Betty the Bench. Don't you dare leave it in that section.
Oh, wow. Are we going to just move on to AI, see what you did there?
I think it's time to look at what we saw other people do online every week and shout it out in AI, see what you did there.
Sometimes you're scrolling without a care. Then suddenly you stop and shout. AI, see what you did there. AI, see what you did there.
AI.
I thought that was actually the thing again.
We talked about the ins and outs of video generation. There's plenty of good video generation tools out there. And you have this link here, which is someone bringing toys like miniature action figures and posables to life using the Chinese model Minimax.
That's right. So Jeff Synthesized on X made this video, and it's just a really cool way to show you how AI video can animate the real world. And something I've tried myself is you take a picture and you can take a video, and like the last screen you grab is a picture that you can make into an image to video model. This is just a real cool thing. He had the Cantina band from Star Wars on his desk, and he just made all of them dance, and it actually looks fantastic. And what I think about with this, which is really interesting, is imagine when we're wearing glasses, right? If the Meta glasses come out or some version of those glasses come out, and you can like push a button and animate the thing right in front of you in real time, which is not insane to imagine.
No.
That is going to make the world playable, right? It's going to make the world feel like everything is interactive, and that feels like a future that will be super fun, super weird, but really interesting to be part of.
Pay close attention to the percussionist who is hitting a thing with the little mallets in the Cantina band, and the object that he's hitting is sort of bouncing and it's reacting to the drumsticks, like it's simulating the physics in there in a way that Sora claims that it does, but I haven't exactly seen. But anyway, very cool use case, and it might inspire you to go do similar things with the objects around your house.
So I saw a really cool video on Reddit that is called "What Actually Happened: Extending Movie Scenes." So this is another example of a using image to video, specifically with Minimax, because you can tell these are well-known movie scenes. But Kevin, if you watch this, it's pretty amazing. It basically takes like Jack Nicholson's scene where he's in the thing and it kind of shows what happens next. It takes the scene between Tom Hanks and Wilson Tom Hanks starts making out with Wilson. It is just a very funny, well done, kind of quick AI video explainer. Or I feel like we almost would have done this on Attack of the Show, right? Like this feels like the same vibe of like, what would it feel like if you had a tool plus a show to do, and it seems like a fun thing to kind of pull off. So the last thing of this group is TL Draw, which is I think we've seen before, which originally was an AI-infused UX creation tool, right? Basically allowed you to use AI to help you create websites or create all sorts of stuff to kind of create the user interface for it and different things like that. Now, this is not out yet, but they teased something called TL Draw Computer. And what this is, it is infused with Google Gemini. I'm not sure which model, but it essentially allows you to kind of craft and create almost like a comfy UI style, like kind of flow chart that allows you to kind of go step by step and make things happen. So in the video, they show off a really cool use case of like somebody writing a story and then drawing a picture and having the things all come together. It's like comfy UI, but it is not nearly as complicated. It kind of feels like the thing I would hand off to like a 12-year-old and be like, hey, this is AI. Go play with this. Go see what it could feel like. And I think that is a big level up for not just kids. I mean, I think anybody can get into this, but like if you gave me this at like 10 and this said like, hey, you can do X, Y, and Z with this, I would come back with something pretty interesting.
It feels like the Incredible Machine meets LLMs.
That's
and
exactly right.
It's way more playful because there's programs like, a Zapier or Make, but you get inundated with pipelines and choices and APIs and complex technical jargon, whereas this seems like put a box, say what you want the box to do, draw an arrow and connect it to another box. That seems way more playful, fun, and approachable. So I think that's the right take. Right now, it looks like it's Flash 1.5, but they're experimenting to upgrade it to the newest version of Flash, which, as we all know, is, again, Flash Ultra Pro, Premium Plus, Extend Alpha, Fresh Scent.
Sundar Pichai, if you want to, you should give us a call and we will give you some name ideas for the next iteration of Google. Oh, hold on. Kevin, I got him right here. He told me to go off. Okay, thanks, Sundar. We'll see you later.
Oh, thanks, Sundar. Good to
know he knows our
for
number.
lunch.
He knows our number at least, which is nice. It's good to know.
He's Google. He knows everything about us.
You're right. Damn, I'm just glad that's all he said. I'm happy that's all he said to me. He probably could say some worse things.
Actually, we joke, Sundar's a big AI for Humans head. He loves the show. And he also subscribes to our newsletter, which is something that each and every one of you should do if you go to aiforhumans.show. Be like Sundar Pichai. He was our first newsletter subscriber, and he said he created 6 alt accounts.
So he's boosting our numbers? Sundar Pichai, thank you so much.
He said, I have access to some Google servers. I'm going to boost your newsletter for you boys. And it was very sweet. We asked him if he wanted to advertise, and he says, nope.
No,
but he has 7 subscriptions to the newsletter, and that was very generous. So thank you, Sundar. And we hope the rest of you follow suit. All right, Gavin, did you do anything with AI this week? Oh, yes, you did, you budding filmmaker, you.
So I use Sora a bunch, and as we mentioned before, I'm going to walk you through some of the stuff that I did with Sora. I did make a video that came out on Monday that was kind of like an early look at Sora. It was very fast kind of take on it, but I did get to spend some more time with it. And Kev, I want to go through some of these videos and kind of walk you through some of the things that I've played with. So in that video that I uploaded on Monday, the first couple of videos you're going to see are the very first thing I did when I got in. And I only got in for like 10 minutes before they shut it down for everybody. And I just asked it to like show me skateboarding on the moon videos. And I said 90s aesthetic. And both of them are like okay. Again, they have physics problems. They're not amazing, but they are on the moon. In the clothes, they are 90s style, which is also very cool. The weird thing is that the moon, they're on the moon, clearly the moon there, and then above them is also the moon. So first result, fine, right? Fine. So then, Kevin, as per usual, I opened up the Hot Dog City world, right? So I wanted to see, every time we try to prompt Hot Dog City, we get pretty crappy results. And I have to say, in this instance, these are actually not bad. Now, I don't know necessarily what I would do with them right away, but I prompted these and I said, an anthropomorphic style hot dog walks around in a city made of hot dogs. Now, it got the hot dog really well. I said cartoon style, so it got the cartoon style.
The choices that it made for the colorful buildings and the playful world is totally fine. The second render that you have here where the camera actually cuts to show, I'm assuming, a protagonist character kind of gesturing and looking around. Like I could see this being in a promo video for a cartoon about Hot Dog City with like minimal tweaking.
Yeah, where he's holding his hand up and he's like, dearest sirs, here it is, Hot Dog City. And by the way, that was like one result. One thing I think that's going to be interesting about Sora and just kind of AI video in general is like, you get that result back and you think, oh, that might change the script somewhat because like now I got this thing that I didn't know I had before. And
Right.
something else to think about that's really important is Runway just released an update for Act 1, which allows you to do like mouth movements for things that already have motion on them. So you can combine this sort of output with that, which is pretty interesting.
I also noticed that there's buildings in the background of one of the hot dog city render that look like they're having a domestic dispute, but the buildings
Oh,
themselves
no.
are hot dogs. Doesn't it seem like
That's so
the
sad.
hot
You're
dog
right.
is angry and then there's a little face of a hot dog within the bun that's looking the other way? There's a whole backstory here, and I want to explore it on this season of Hot Dog City.
So this one was really interesting. Go to number 5, which is called Dracula's Baking Surprise. I was on Blue Sky, which we have a Blue Sky account, by the way, and I saw somebody put out a Blue Sky post that said, what if there was a movie called Ratatouille, Nosferatu, where it was a bat was on top of Dracula's head teaching him how to cook, which is like Ratatouille, the movie. I just put that in
Nailed
there.
it.
And it nailed it, right? Like that is a very good result. Now, are there problems if you want to nitpick? Yeah, the hands are a little funky. Sometimes the wings are a little funky, but like that is a good result from an AI video generator. And it wasn't like I tried 15 times to get that. That was in one of the first 2 results.
The lighting looks amazing in the background, the way the light's reflecting off the bricks, the light on the character's face. Yes, you could sit there and nitpick the imperfections, as you said, but you could do that with literally anything. But this is a great render. It looks good. It looks like a Sora generation, and I mean that in the best way for the model.
Yeah, well, it's funny you say that because looking at it again, there's definitely almost like a stock footagey kind of vibe to that in some form. And I'm sure that they actually stock footaged it up to kind of use a lot of that in there. Okay, number 6 is a remix that I did. So there was an original video, and I'll put it up in our YouTube. I'm sorry, I don't remember your name who made the original video, but it was this kind of very cool video of this old guy with his hair waving in the wind, right? Like this very cool thing. That video is great, but what I wanted to do was try to remix it and put sunglasses on the old man. So I did that, and you can see basically it kept the same sort of guy and just put sunglasses on him. And actually, again, very, very solid. And this is something that has been really hard to do with AI video up until this date. Like being able to essentially in-paint a thing onto a video has been very hard.
The object moves and tracks with the head. It also tracks with the camera as it's moving about. You see the reflection of an environment that, I don't know where this character is standing, but when I see the background, I'm like, maybe it's a park. I see green, could be a forest, could be a who knows, but I see a reflection of what looks like trees and an outdoor environment in the glasses. So it made that decision as well. And it's semi-transparent. You can see the eyes of the character beneath them. There's a lot going on to make that remix happen in a believable way.
And what's crazy to me is, again, everything about the remix looks as good as the original video did, right? Which is pretty impressive. So that was a good one. So this is an image of a cybernetic kind of a cyber.
It's a cyber horse.
It's a cyber horse, and he's running through a field, essentially, or it looks like it. And I had seen this as a post from somewhere where they said we couldn't get proper motion out of this horse. So I put it into Sora, and you can kind of see, like, actually, it's not the worst leg motion per se. It doesn't look super realistic, but the hair in the mane and the tail is frozen, and the head is not moving at all either. So it's not like the most exact version of what we'd hope to have here.
It looks like a Red Dead Redemption mod that someone pushed a little too far. Yeah, the horse body isn't moving at all as it gallops across.
So in this one, I had that monkey that I showed off earlier doing the loop thing. I wanted to see if I could get a Batman costume on him. So I prompted it for monkey sits at a table, drinks coffee, and has a Batman costume. It put what looks like almost like a Sailor Moon costume on him, or something that isn't like a traditional superhero costume.
Right.
And then it grabbed the cup and it took the cup into its mouth. And you also will see the costume when his arm goes up, kind of it's on his arm and then it's not on his arm. So again, consistency is not perfect. I will say, though, just as a shout out to AI video in general, these are the kind of things that you and I have said many times we actually like the problems that come out of AI video. Like some of these things are super duper fun. And I think this is kind of like you have to be okay with this for right now. Now, people who are Runway or Minimax super fans might be like, we're past this part now. We need something better, especially coming from OpenAI, but maybe not yet. But then again, the final one, which I do want to show you, which is one of my favorite things. Somebody found out that Sora cannot do fast motion very well, and specifically it really struggles at sports. And in this instance, gymnastics is the worst version to try to get it to do. So what can you describe a little bit about what you're seeing on the screen here?
It's a woman standing on, at first I thought it was like, well, it looks like a paint tray, like a trough that
That's
you would use if you're
mustard.
gonna roll
It's a
some
trough
paint
of
in it.
mustard.
But yeah, it's a trough of mustard.
Yes.
And she's standing in a blue unitard, and then she begins a dramatic, what I think was supposed to be a backflip, but
Yes.
a bucket of mustard comes rising out of the tray, connected to her feet. She immediately tumbles backwards. Mustard flies everywhere. And then that's when the contortioning begins. And she turns into what looks like a humanoid fidget spinner. And she sort of pinwheels, and her body collapses in, and she's oops all limbs. There's no torso or head left. She's just interconnected limbs flailing about.
That's right. So I will say I did make a kind of a weirder prompt to see what I could do here. The prompt here was gymnast flips 5 times very fast, then lands in a bucket of mustard. So it's going to have a hard time figuring out that a little bit. But what's so interesting about this is it basically turns into a non-human entity with like legs flipping everywhere. It struggles a lot. And I think this is something to think about as we go forward. Like it's going to really struggle with any sort of motion. And to your point about physics, this was always supposed to be like, Sora was supposed to be like the world simulation engine. And kind of right now, it feels like a lot of the physics are very broken. Like we are not seeing that many realistic physics in here, which for us can be fun. But if the idea going forward with Sora is that it's not just a video generator, but it's going to simulate the world so that you can have AIs, do simulated adventures and learn through stuff. Well, I certainly hope I don't meet the AI that flipped over 6 times and became 6 legs, because we're then definitely screwed. Arnold's probably right.
Yeah. You can bend like this, human.
Yeah. Exactly. I learned it from the mustard bucket video. It's all Gavin Purcell's fault. He's the reason why we're bending you this way.
I like Sora. I don't mind that it's broken right now. Are there better tools? Absolutely. Will Sora get better? Most likely. I wouldn't shade OpenAI by any stretch. I don't think it's worth paying the $200 for just yet, though. But your mileage may vary and your needs may vary.
And by the way, for $20 a month, you get to try Sora, you get to try O1, you get to try all these things, and you get ChatGPT. So I think OpenAI Plus subscription is a huge value right now. You may find yourself frustrated that you run out of certain things, and that might suck, but just for $20 is a pretty good deal. Well, everybody, we will see you all next week. Thank you for joining us, and sayonara.
Goodbye.